Welcome to Camille's Harem, not just a podcast, but also a YouTube channel for novice writers by novice writers. Because writing is an adventure, it's more fun with friends. So, my new friends, grab your extra tight jock straps and hold on to your willies, because I, Nathan, I'm going to try my hand at a writer's rant. 10 out of 10. Oh boy. A few weeks back, I saw a trailer for Season 3 of Wakfu come up on my Netflix page. And after watching the trailer, I kind of thought to myself, now that looks like it could be interesting. Thus began my journey through Wakfu. And after finishing Season 3, I can honestly say this. It's far from perfect, but Season 3 of Wakfu is one of the most fun animated shows on Netflix at this moment. However, that does come with a pretty heavy asterisk. Season 1 and 2 are not. Wakfu is an animated series that is based off of a tactical MMORPG by the same name. It is developed by the French studio Ankama Animation and directed by Anthony Roux and Fabrice Oh, I definitely didn't get that right.
Okay, so the first one is just Anthony Roux, and then the second one is just Fabrice Nzinzi. Nzinzi? I don't know. I'm not getting paid enough for this shit. Well, sometimes it's almost too easy to insult you, and I just would like to take it easy on you, because you have to live with the fact that you're an idiot constantly, so...
Well, okay. That's fair. That's fair. I'll take that one.
That's like her walking past you in the hallway in high school and just being like, "You're an idiot, right? You know that? Just try not to trip." Pat you on the cheek and then walk off.
Try not to forget how to breathe.
Regardless, Season 1 aired in France between 2008 and 2010 with 26 episodes, and Season 2 aired between 2011 and 2012 and also contained 26 episodes. A few special OVA episodes also aired, which includes, but is not limited to, approximately a 2-hour arc in 2014. This arc is crucial to the story, so I will refer to this 2-hour arc as Season 2.5. And finally, after all that is said and done, Wakfu then aired a Season 3 after being acquired by Netflix, and that aired in 2017. Now, why am I telling you all this information? That's a good question. Well, I want you to take a look at the episode count one more time for each season. So Season 1 with 26, Season 2 with 26, Season 2.5 with the equivalent of 6 episodes, and then Season 3 with 13. Seasons 1 and 2 fall victim to a very common problem for long-running series that Season 3, and even to an extent Season 2.5, don't have. As you can probably guess from the title of this video, I'm talking about filler. I'm not so much talking about filler in the traditional definition of non-canon episodes used to fill gaps between arcs to give source material some time to breathe, but I'm more talking about the spiritual definition. Basically, content that does not affect the overarching story in any significant way. Although filler is often looked down upon, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It can be helpful in a variety of ways. It can also be very beneficial to your characters, giving them a chance to grow outside the main conflict, or even giving the writers a chance to world build on a smaller scale. There are all sorts of ways we can take advantage of these low-stake arcs that fillers have without having them feel like filler. For an example, let's look at the first episode of Season 3 for Boku no Hero Academia. Technically filler, but it gives us a chance to reflect on the previous seasons. It also puts the students in a low-stakes situation where they can have some fun at the swimming pool, blow off some steam, and let their competitive nature shine. There isn't any new developments in the plot during this episode, but seeing how each character reacts in this new setting is fun. It develops the characters further, and it doesn't feel like a waste of time. Key word there is feel. Now, let me take a step back and tell you something perhaps a bit shocking. Wakfu does not actually have anything that would classify as filler. I know, I just said Wakfu suffers from having filler, but it's not that there is filler, but that it feels like filler. Episodes 3 through 9, and even to a lesser extent, clear through episode 17, the amount of stuff that actually contributes to the story is relatively small. As a matter of fact, you can practically skip episodes 3 through 9 and still have about 90 to 95% understanding of things. The situation isn't helped much by the fact that the development that the characters do go through during this time is pretty unsubstantial. It's in there, there's indeed some growth, but it is all mostly surface level. So, example time. Let's take a closer look at episode 3, The Black Crow. In this episode, our adventurers are on the hunt for a map. If they protect a shop from being destroyed by the Black Crow, they can have a demonic talking map. Basically, the most important thing we gain from this episode is some world building about the Shoes, aka demons from another world that possess items like weapons or a map. The map they obtain is one of these Shoes, as you could guess, which gives the writers a chance to dive into that concept, which is great. Awesome. Only one problem. We have already been introduced to that concept, and most of the information we didn't already know doesn't really come in handy until season 2, which is re-explained by that point regardless. This episode also introduces us to the Black Crow, who has a few cameos later on, but nothing to the overall narrative. And how about we look at episode 9, Roux's Bag, which we learn that Roux has a magical bag with a ton of money inside of it, but he is just too much of a cheapskate to use any of it. The bit about his bag being magical is new, but the rest of the things we've already had drilled into our brains, and will continue to have it drilled in future episodes. You see the problem here? We are learning things true, but nothing substantial enough to excite the plot or the audience. Now, don't get me wrong, season 1 and 2 have some genuinely stellar writing. The world building is great, even though the naming convention is a little goofy, and it is what helped me stick with the series during all of the boring bits. Plus, once you make your way to episode 17 or so, things really start kicking off, getting real exciting. Season 2 is a lot of the same, although more tolerable than season 1. The first half is kind of a slow burn, then picks up around the second half. Regardless, both seasons have incredible, unforgettable climaxes. Honestly, if these 2 seasons were condensed down to only like 13 episodes or so, trimming off the fluff and whatnot, leaving all the wonderful world building in, I think it would be very beneficial, which is practically what they did for season 3. Now, as I said earlier, season 3 is far from perfect. I felt like Evangeline fell prey to the damsel in distress role yet again, and despite actually liking the love story subplot, I feel like it was just a bit shoehorned in. But by golly is it fun from episode 1 all the way through to the end. Here's actually a funny story. My roommate actually walked in while I was watching the first episode of season 3, and after a short explanation of what was going on, he continued to watch season 3 all the way to the end with me, and we had an absolute blast the whole entire time. So the moral of that story is that Wakfu season 3 is great, and you should probably watch it. Now, I guess I should get back to talking about writing or whatever, since, that's supposed to be the point of this video, I guess. So let's take a look at what we've learned and answer this question. How do we add to our stories without it feeling like filler? So the first thing we can do is give the audience new information. That new information can come as world building, character development, plot elements, etc., etc. Have your fun with it. This information should actually be new and useful. That's important right there. And have this info be important sooner rather than later. So number 2, have something that excites the plot forward in some way or another, and in turn excites the audience. Subtext is a really good example of this. Characters may not know the implications of the situation, but you as the audience do know the implications. And number 3, and this kind of goes without saying, cut out anything that could be classified as filler. If it exists only to extend the story, don't put it in. Just don't. Just don't. Everything should have a reason for being there. Make sure if you are adding in something that is not important to the plot, quote fingers, that it is important in other ways like character development, which incidentally will be important to the plot. So I also brought this same question up to the rest of the harem, and this is what they had to say. Add a beach scene, a school festival, or a bathing scene. I'm sure this was meant to be a joke by our in-house good boy, Trickster Vince, but yes, that could work, given the type of story, that is. If the characters are forced into a role or situation that is unfamiliar, it could be a great chance to watch them grow and develop. Number 2, too much information without any use for it. Lars's input, inspired by the book Wheel of Time number 10, Crossroads at Twilight, going in the opposite direction, only add stuff that is actually useful. Don't cut away from the good bits. Those good bits. Don't cut away from the good bits of the story to explain some inconsequential law that has no bearing on the actual story. And finally, if it doesn't serve any purpose for character growth or interactions, trim the fat. I've already touched on this a bit, but I think Camille adds a bit that I think is worth mentioning. Not only should it have a purpose in the plot, but also for the characters. After all, characters are what the plot centers around. I think we can all agree that filler can really bog down an otherwise great story, and there are plenty of examples of this in other stories. So let's do ourselves a favor, and everyone else a favor too, and just avoid filler. Filler is not entertaining, and stuff that feels like filler is even more frustrating. So yeah, go watch Wakfu. It's good when it wants to be. Season 3 is great, and the rest of the show is worth chewing through the fat to get to the really excellent parts. Which I've already said way too many times. That's it. That's all I got. Thanks for listening. Let us know in the comments down yonder, how do you avoid something feeling like filler? Or tell us if you've ever seen Wakfu or plan to watch it. Or just tell me your heart's desires. I'm listening. I'm here for you. If you liked the video, give that nice thumbs up. Click a Rooski. And while you're at it, if you could just give that same treatment to that good old subscribe button. We here at Camille's Harem also do run a podcast where we talk about our perilous journey through writing, which is augmented by our search for terrible fanfics, which we will read so you don't have to. You can find us on iTunes, Google Music, and Podbean under the title Camille's Harem. Also, you can join in on our quaint, elite community of novice writers for novice writers over at the Camille's Harem subreddit, where you can join in and make some friends on the ever-evolving adventures of novice writing. And finally, you can find us on Tumblr, Twitter, and Pinterest. You know the drill. And as always, bye-bye.